All right, everybody, welcome to our October field staff meeting. We are really blessed to be joined by our incoming president, Cammie Scott. She takes office January 1st. And I'm sure she's just kind of wanting to get up to speed and see what we're doing and talking about. And I thought, gee whiz, while she's on this call, which I think is awesome that she's taking time out of her busy practice and what will be, I'm sure, a very busy year, maybe the only time we get to see her on these calls. It'd be great if she said a few words to everybody before we get started. So go ahead, Cammie. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share so everybody can see you.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes here to be on the call. I appreciate that. And thank you to each of you who are on the call. I appreciate you being on the call. And there's so many things that are happening, so many exciting things that are happening within NAIFA that it's great to have you all here, have you be a part of this and really help us to move forward, because we have so many opportunities to help us to advance the association, to advance the profession. So thanks for letting me be on here for a few minutes, Michelle, and thank you to each of you. We appreciate all that you do and the work that you do in helping us to move forward. So thanks a lot.
Oh, no, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Shows the dedication to the importance of our field staff that you would take time before you even start office to do this. So we appreciate it. So can everybody see my screen here? And just wait 1 second. I'm trying to get my PowerPoint up. Is that a yes? I'm hoping it's a yes. Hold on 1 second.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just doing a little quick check. So yep, somebody chatted yes. All right, good. So let's get started. Our agenda today is again packed, but we're gonna move through it pretty quickly. And I'm hoping that Tom Ashley's able to be on today because I want him to share some exciting things that he did in terms of leadership training at the end of the call. But if not, we'll push that information out separately on the Leadership Center. But Kevin's gonna go over some industry updates, corporate partner updates. He's been to several company or organizational meetings, and there are a few coming up that I want him to update you on. He's gonna also talk to you about LACP. I'm gonna give you a membership update. We're gonna talk about 2020 NAIFA Live and what's gonna look different next year in terms of that program. Leadership training at 2020's P+P. We're going to talk about that. We're going to give you an update on the year membership system and where we're at. And then we're going to talk about, give you some reminders and announcements. And like I said, hopefully Tom Ashley's available to do some sharing with you. So Kevin, are you unmuted? I know you were on a minute ago. I cannot hear you. So get down to you. Still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I certainly can, sir.
All right, I got that one fixed. I have a new laptop, so I had to switch my camera control. Anyways,
awesome.
yeah, it's neat. So anyways, thanks again for everybody for joining. Happy October for some of us in the Washington, D.C. area. It's a happier October as the Nationals have made it to the World Series. So good stuff for us. Zach, if you're listening, I'm really sorry. Anyways, got a couple of things to cover today. One, I got back yesterday afternoon from the annual ACLI meeting. Absolutely incredible meeting. I've gone to a ton of these since coming to NAIFA a little more than 4 years ago. And each one I've always been greeted very with courtesy and professionalism by the company CEOs and others that were present. But I got to tell you, the feel that I had in Boston the past few days was absolutely different. It's a big change. I had company CEOs that we've been begging to get one-on-one meetings with that I haven't been able to break through and talk to. They came up to me proactively and talked about how pleased they are with this new relationship they've got with NAIFA, talked again about the great stuff that we're doing and how much they appreciate it because it does wonders for the industry. I had heads of GR for some companies, including MassMutual, that I've had a very hard time meeting with at all, who've asked if we could sit down and have lunch and talk about ways we can better partner together and they can better promote NAIFA membership and we can synergize our messages together at the state level primarily because we do a lot together already at the federal level but really a whole different vibe and look and feel when it comes to our relationship with the companies at the ACLI meeting. And I think an awful lot of that is due to the fact that we have entered into this new advocacy partnership agreement with ACLI, where we're going to pool our resources at the state level, and we're adding additional resources from NAIFA itself to assist in coordinating this at the state level, and with ACLI's regional staff to show how working together, the industry and the producers together, how we can have a really strong partnership and impact public policy. ACLI is realizing that DC is kind of in gridlock. We're not getting much done. You've got stuff that's going on in the House. It's never even being heard in the Senate. They've got the House is refusing to pick up things that are passed out of the Senate themselves. You've got a president who does different things, which may or may not be in sync with the House and the Senate. And what that ultimately results in is not a lot is happening on the public policy front, at least legislatively in Washington, D.C. We have had some movement on the regulatory front, as you know, with the SEC passing their regulatory best interest or Reg BI regulation. And the Department of Labor is beginning to take another look at revising the fiduciary type standard to be in line with what the SEC has passed. But you've got a lot of activity now going on with states, especially blue states, that are sitting back and saying, hey, we want to take action. We don't think the federal government's going far enough, so we want to put in place our own fiduciary rules. And there's a plethora of other targets that are important. In particular, one that's really emerging is genetic testing and privacy. And so by partnering with the ACLI, we think we can have a strong impact on helping to educate state policymakers as to what, again, the industry does, what advisors do, how this benefits society, and some things they might want to take into account before they enact some sort of state policy, whether that be through the legislature or through regulation. So I think you all know, because we talked about this a little bit at P+P, but we are working with 7 targeted states in 2020 to combine our efforts and show good impact. Those are California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Massachusetts, Maryland, and New Jersey. And I think we can really make some impact. At the ACLI board meeting and at their executive committee meeting, they've talked about their partnership with NAIFA and how unique that is and how we are really the only grassroots voice at the state level that can get stuff done. And I think the companies are beginning to understand, really for the first time in a long time, the true value that NAIFA brings to the table. And I think that's going to help us when it comes to a whole lot of stuff, but most importantly, them as company leaders helping us reinstill a culture of joining your professional association when you become a producer. And we need that message resonating from every level, but particularly from the top down of the companies. If they'll take a proactive role in doing that, not just having a link on their intranet that says, here's all the professional associations in our space, check them out if you want to, but one that really says, as a producer, you should join NAIFA, your professional association, and get involved. And I think we're going to really make some progress in that over the course of the next year and a half, particularly as those CEOs see the results that we're able to bring in together, working in collaborative partnership through the 2020 legislative session. So great stuff going on there. I also was asked by the new ACLI chair, Dan Houston. Dan is the CEO of Principal. He asked if he could join me for lunch on Monday. And so we sat together for lunch, had a great conversation about a whole bunch of different stuff. But I think he's particularly psyched about this partnership. So going from the current chair with Joanne Martin of Emeritus, going towards Dan. Next year, the CEO of One America will be holding the chair position. And then after that, it's Ted Mathis from New York Life. I think we've got 4 strong chairs in a row that are beginning to understand the strength of a strong grassroots army in our space and how NAIFA can be a key strategic partner. But we are a stronger and better partner if we are bigger, if we have more advisors that are part of our association and are actively engaged. And their role as company leaders should be to help reinstate that culture and encourage their entire field force to join and become involved in NAIFA. So great stuff going on there. Tom, I saw Tom Ashley on here. I also did have a chance while I was there to talk with Senator Broxson, the chair of the Florida Senate Banking and Insurance Committee. And we talked about the genetic testing issue particularly. And our good friends at Northwestern Mutual were there when I was talking with them. So I think that was a good plug for NAIFA as well. And by the way, Tom, the senator also said that he thinks Tim Bean is one of the best in the business in Tallahassee. So that was great.
We think he is too, yes.
I told him I agree, even though he's a Seminole. We'll
I
talk.
know. I've been working on him.
So really good stuff there. we are continuing to work on our advocacy partnerships on different levels. You see there some of the key groups that we work with every day. We are going out to the NAILBA meeting in early November out in Dallas. Our executive committee is meeting with their executive committee to again talk about how we can combine our efforts and our resources and be more impactful together. And I think there's a great opportunity for us there to really sit back and talk about promoting NAIFA membership through those independent channels. So good stuff there. We are actively exploring doing a joint conference with NAILBA in 2021. Don't know if that's going to come to fruition or not. We're in the exploratory phases of that, but that could be an opportunity to really have a really large, impactful conference for the entire industry, where we would combine their conference with P+P together. And so we're working on that. More to come as we make progress with those conversations. With the Society of Financial Services Professionals, we're continuing to do our Level Up Roadshow with them. And we've had a team that was meeting down in Charlotte all day yesterday, talking about how we revamp that, how we make that more impactful. And I'm looking forward to hearing the results of their conversations when I get an update later today. With WIFS, they're in Louisville right now, is their annual meeting. And we've got Emily Cabbage from Michelle's team and Diane Boyle from our Government Relations Department are down there right now. And Jill Judd is there as well, our national president. And so we're having good conversations with our colleagues at WIFS. And of course, we're providing some content for their meetings. So I think that's a really cool thing about our relationship with them, that we are so active in their conference. And then, of course, as you know, WIFS does hold a breakfast in conjunction with P+P with us each year. And then, of course, with the Asian American Insurance and Financial Services Association, Emily is also going to be attending their conference and promoting NAIFA membership and having conversations about what we need to do to have a formal MOU in place with them, a strong partnership. And then, of course, LIA, Emily also went to their conference in August to promote NAIFA membership and to better explain to them, again, the value that NAIFA brings to the entire industry. So, ton of good stuff going on there on all fronts. I can't tell you how refreshing it was to go to an ACLI meeting and have company CEOs seek me out to say, again, NAIFA's doing a great job. We're excited about this partnership. We're going to do good things together. And for them to genuinely seem like they meant it. And for them to do that on their own, I think really shows we are making some traction. Finally, it's good to see some of the fruit of the hard work that all of you and our volunteers have put into building those relationships and to see that begin to start, again, bearing fruit. So fantastic there. I did just want to talk about one more thing because I know Michelle's got a packed agenda, and that really was talking about LACP. So just to remind you, our certification is live. It's accredited. It's on the FINRA list. It's one of only 11 accredited designations or certifications on the FINRA list. Great opportunity to really promote this. This could be a real differentiator for us as an association, but also for our members and other producers who get the LACP certification. Information right there on NAIFA.org/LACP. We have a one-pager available as a leave behind. With Michelle's term, there is a sell sheet that's available. You see a copy of the graphic there to the left that really talks about the program, so you can download that from the website and then, of course, pass it out and distribute it to people. So they've got a real quick handout talking about LACP. Would like to remind everybody that the next window for testing for the certification, the opportunity for candidates to sit for the exam itself, is in January. And so in order to do that, people have to sign up. December 1st is the regular registration deadline. And there's a late deadline of December 15th. But I'd encourage you to promote it and see if we can steer more people towards signing up and taking that January test. The more we do that, the more we get the name out LACP, the more that is identified with NAIFA, the higher it increases our stature with the industry and creates more awareness of the good work that we as an association do every day for the entire industry. And then as we've talked about before on these calls, if you have not yet had a chance to do so, please work with Michelle and her team to get this actually registered with your state if your state has a registry of officially recognized designations and certifications. We've had a number of our states already do that, so thank you to those of you that have done it. If you hadn't had a chance to do that yet, there's no time like the present, because again, we want to get this out there. We want to show everybody that this is a good, credible certification to get, and having it become accredited, having it on the FINRA list, and then also having it on your state's list, in addition to the companies that every week more and more sign on and say it's officially approved for use by their field force, the better. So great stuff going on there. And again, Michelle, that's all I've got. I know you've got a full agenda, but I very
Yeah,
much
do
appreciate
you, no, absolutely. Do you, are you going to stay on the whole call or do you need to take questions now?
I have got about another 15 minutes and then I've got to go. So I can take questions now.
Awesome. So everybody, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share here so that we can, if you guys have any questions for Kevin, stop share. Go ahead and unmute yourself or put it in the chat and I'll ask it of him.
This is like a super version of the Brady Bunch. I like it.
Yes, super version of the Brady Bunch. Anybody got anything? If you're trying to talk, you're probably muted, so you'd have to unmute yourself, or if you're on the phone, you might have to hit *6, but otherwise y'all look good. Y'all look very thoughtful. I'm looking at how thoughtful you are. Either you're thoughtful because you can't figure out how to mute yourself, or you're thoughtful because everything he said, you're still digesting. Well, if there's anything that comes up, if you think of anything, after Kevin leaves us, I can take that question back to him and get the answer for you later. So thanks so much, Kevin. Obviously, feel free to stay on as long as you want. But
yeah, my pleasure. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate all the hard work you're doing.
all right, cool. So going back to my share. All right, cool. So we're going to jump into a membership update real quick. Just want to remind everybody, if you missed it, we did a special kind of emergency leader briefing in September on the new graduated dues rates, the new to NAIFA, $30 a month for people who've never been members before for their first year. Then it will graduate up to $40 a month in their second year, and then they'll be paying the regular fee of $56 a month in their third year of membership. Then we also have the new to the industry rates, which is first year in the business, they pay $10 a month. Second year in the business, they pay $20 a month, and third year in the business, they'd pay $30 a month, and it would graduate up to that next level in year 2, year 3, and so on. So we have implemented the online join through the new year membership system. So if you're promoting membership or you have links to the join link of NAIFA, you'll want to use the URL www.naifa.org/join. If you do that, you will always go to the right place, regardless of all the website changes we're making and stuff like that, because that URL is redirecting to the page that talks about these new, this new graduated rate program or introductory rate program for those that have never been NAIFA members before. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that webinar, we'll make sure that, I believe the on-demand recording was already pushed out to everybody in a previous newsletter, but we'll make sure that it's up on the Leaders Center. We're still migrating some of that content over to the Leaders Center. We'll make sure it's up there for you to look at in case you have any questions. I want to give shout outs here. These are our top 10 performing states year to date in terms of new members. So these are new members, not reinstatements, not rejoins, but new members this year. And this percentage afterwards is the number of new members that have been recruited in those states as a percentage of their total membership. In other words, if a chapter has 100 members as of December 31st of last year, and they recruited 10 members, this number would be 10%. So for our large states, that means they've, Illinois and Florida have recruited a lot of members to be on this top 10 list, but this is a true representation of the performance of each chapter. Even if you are smaller, you would show up on this list, as we know Idaho and Utah have. So shout outs to those states and all the great work you're doing there. I want to remind everybody about the Q4 membership challenge that Dennis announced on our leadership webinar the beginning of October. Just reminding you about it. It is whether you're a competitive person yourself or not, I can tell you that your members are. Our members tend to come from very competitive backgrounds in terms of sporting and sports teams that they've played on and stuff like that. It's really the makeup of a good sales professional to be competitive. So don't think about whether this motivates you. Think about how much it'll motivate your members, and we know that it does. So promote it, even if it's not something that gets your juices going, it'll get their juices going. And especially if there's a specific state that you have a rivalry with, like Iowa and Nebraska are always fighting over being the best in PAC fundraising every year. And they're in the same group this year as Nebraska. And so we'll be doing a lot of trash talking, if you will, to get our Iowa members to be pushing forward to beat Nebraska is how we're going to look at it. So here's the leaderboard where we stand 2 weeks into this contest. So it started again October 1. And each of the entire list of state chapters was divided into groups of 5 based on their size. So the 5 largest chapters are competing against the other 5 largest chapters. And this leaderboard is not necessarily the most recruited, but again, the most recruited as a percentage of your membership. So you can see on here, Illinois is the top recruiter so far this month in Group 1. Nebraska is leading in Group 2, which is the group Iowa's in. Louisiana, big shout out to Shannon for leading the way in Louisiana. New Jersey, Chris, I know you're on. Congrats on that. Indiana, Oklahoma, Montana, Connecticut, and DC. So just remind everybody, the state that wins in your group is going to get a free registration to P+P for their membership chair. So it'll save you money if you're planning to subsidize your membership chairs to attend the training at P+P. So I want to talk a little bit about NAIFA Live and what's going to be changing in 2020. We put together a field leader experience team that is going to be working on anything and everything that we're doing as a chapter services department to support our chapter field, our field leaders and field staff, if you will. And that team's first task was to get the 2020 NAIFA Live program all mapped out, if you will, so that we can have that calendar ready to publish. Our plan is to have it fully available, all the speakers identified, which time slots, which cities by the end of this month. So you'll have, basically 2 months before the first one starts to know exactly what the entire 2020 program looks like and how you can promote it. So one thing that we're doing is we're putting together a time zone specific guide. So if you're in the Western time zone, all of the broadcasts next year are going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern time. All of them will be. So if you're on the West Coast and you want to participate in NAIFA Live, we're going to have a guide that says, okay, here's how you make it work in your time zone. Do this before, then do the broadcast, do this after, or maybe, it's really early in the morning, it's a breakfast meeting. Here's when your people should show up. Here's when they should be done with breakfast. Here's when the speaker comes on, that kind of thing. To make it easy for you and your chapters to make this not just the, small watch parties, which we definitely want to encourage and we want, but the traditional chapter meeting, if you will, in those affiliate communities, where they can get a high quality keynote speaker into their program as part of, without having to fly them in, if you will. So we're looking to make better use of NAIFA's resources by providing these speakers that you would normally have to pay a speaker fee to, fly into your location, pay for hotel and other transportation expenses related to that if we can bring those great speakers from the chapter that's nearest to their community, what a better use of NAIFA resources than flying these people all over the country to deliver the same program in each of these separate locations. So we're going to have this one thing we're adding this year that we started toward the end of 2019 is every NAIFA Live program speaker is going to present discussion topics that are specifically tied to their presentation that you can, after the live broadcast, the reason why people would want to come to your watch party location, come to your meeting versus watching it on the computer, is they'll be able to participate in these discussion topics related to that presentation so they can have more takeaways, if you will, for attending personally or face-to-face versus just virtually. That was a big request that was put out by the 4 states that were in our beta test. So that's going to be part of every broadcast, that you'll have these discussion topics. We've also put together a discussion moderator kind of best practices guide, because you might be holding these watch parties in locations where somebody's never been a discussion moderator. So how do you lead a discussion and keep it going and get audience participation and that kind of thing. All of the speakers, as I mentioned, are going to be keynote level speakers. So people you would normally pay to fly in to be your headliner for your big event, if you will. And I mentioned that the broadcasts are all going to start at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So here's a list of the speakers that we're missing one still. We're working on that. But and we haven't placed all of them in each time slot because it's like a big house of card or date, right? This one can't do this date, and that means, but this one can, so we switched this one to that date. We're kind of working on that house of cards, if you will, right now and laying the foundation for it. But these speakers have been confirmed. Cheryl Canzanella, who's our Yacht Leader of the Year, Simon Riley, many of you have had him out from Leading Advisor. Suzanne Carowin, she's going to do a social media, marketing your practice through social media. Delvin Joyce, many of you have had him out as a keynote speaker. He's going to be presenting NAIFA Live. Marcus Henderson, who's a financial advisor in Nashville, will be presenting live from there. He has been confirmed for May. Brian Haney, who's the chair of the LACP Certification Commission, past president of NAIFA Greater Washington, D.C. He did a Big Ideas webinar recently that was very well received. He's built out more of a workshop format based on that topic. He'll probably be presenting that at MDRT, I understand, also. So your members would get to see an MDRT type presentation. Bill Cates, who's got a new book out about referrals and getting referrals. Eric West, who's oh shoot, what's the name of it? Like Dale Carnegie type trained presenter who talks about public speaking and how to capture your audience and brand yourself. Scott Mann, who many of you may have seen at the NAIFA Performance Plus Purpose Conference, the Green Beret who did the main stage presentation, he's going to be presenting. I'm not going to spell the next, say the next guy's name right, but he speaks on accountability and connecting with your clients. And Tom Hubler talks about the family psychology, and he's going to be speaking toward the end of the year in December to help. His conversation is going to help you when you're having those conversations about, end of year planning related to your, your estate, business succession, that kind of thing, or business key man insurance, that kind of stuff. So he talks about the psychology of the family. So we have one more opening. If you guys have a great speaker in your community and you're holding a meeting already on one of these dates and feel like they would be a perfect speaker for NAIFA Live, please reach out to me, because there's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel if a chapter out there already has a great speaker identified. So these are the confirmed dates for NAIFA Live next year. They are all except May going to be the second Thursday of the month. So this past year we kind of went between the first or second or third Thursday. We're going to be fixed on the second Thursday of the month, except for May. And that's because we're also going to be broadcasting live from Congressional Conference. And we didn't want to have those two back to back in terms of the weeks. So we did move the May NAIFA Live up 1 week. And that way you're not in the blackout dates. We also are going to be offering 2 NAIFA Lives in October. One of them is going to be a virtual only broadcast from Performance Plus Purpose Conference, similar to what we did this year with Danny O'Connell's presentation. So you can mark these on your calendar. Again, 2 p.m. Eastern time on this date. If you want to save a lot of money on speaker fees and speaker travel and get great speakers, this is your place to do it, is through NAIFA Live. One of the things I didn't put on the other slide that we're doing also is we'll be kind of shoring up the technical component of it, and NAIFA is going to be providing the videographer / technician on site for these venues. The chapters that are going to be the virtual, the host locations will provide the hardwired internet, but we'll provide the technicians, if you will, to make sure that we have a consistent and quality experience in terms of the broadcast every month. So if you guys are going, oh my God, I don't know if I could ever do a NAIFA Live broadcast, it'd be too much, I wouldn't know what to do, that part's going to be taken care of. So again, if you've got already an event planned on one of these days and feel like you'd have a keynote speaker to be available at 2 p.m. Eastern time to present to the rest of the world, we'd love to hear from you. So leadership training at P+P, NAIFA is going to be taking next year's national advocacy meeting, instead of holding it as a separate event. Again, national advocacy meeting is political action committee, government relations, and political involvement committee chairs. Sometimes president-elects go, sometimes chapter staff go to this event, where you learn anything and everything you need to know about our grassroots army, how to motivate them, how to fundraise in terms of our PAC. That meeting has normally been held in November, December timeframe as a separate standalone event. Next year, those volunteers are going to be coming to P+P, and they'll be getting their training at P+P along with the rest of the leaders. So That's a change from what we had talked about a couple of years ago in terms of leadership training. We were talking about moving everything to NAM, and instead we're moving everything to P+P. So just to remind everybody, and this information's in the chapter playbook. So if you haven't downloaded your chapter playbook, it is up on the Leadership Center. Both the state chapter and the local chapter versions are up on the Leader Center. These are the positions that you should plan to have go to the Performance Plus Purpose Conference for chapter leadership training. It's going to be a little different than it normally is. So it's not going to be one big giant breakout or multiple big giant breakouts where all the leaders go sit in one room at one time kind of thing. Instead, we're going to have an opening general session for leaders, right? And it's going to focus primarily on recruiting, recognizing, engaging volunteers, and creating a great volunteer experience, because we know there's a need for that in the field. In terms of everybody always says they can't find enough volunteers to perform all of the work of the organization, which is putting an undue burden on your chapter board and also on your chapter staff. So we're going to really focus on leadership, recruitment, retention, engagement, recognition at the general session. And then we're going to hold breakouts in the afternoon, 50-minute breakouts. And these are going to be workshop format this first day on Thursday, where we're going through the same basic concept, but or program, if you will, or format of a workshop, but specifically focused on PAC, PIC, membership, or programs, with the idea that we want everybody to leave that series of breakouts on Thursday afternoon with fully identified what their volunteer requirements are, who their target list that they're going to go after for each of those volunteer positions is, the ad hoc volunteer opportunities associated with each of those, kind of positions. We'll have a planning session for your actual fundraising programs, your political involvement program, your, membership plan, and how you're going to implement that program, stuff like that. So that's going to be that Thursday afternoon, those smaller breakouts focused on those 4 areas in terms of the chairs. Then on Friday, we're going to have, there's breakout session slots. And actually, I just found out that one of the slots that I thought I was going to have available to me, I don't have available, so I have to adjust this. This is why it says subject to change. Because it's evolving every day. But we'll have a breakout session on PAC and PIC. So 2 breakout sessions. Those will be, so just your PAC chairs, just your PIC chairs. Your president can go, your staff can go, but it's going to be focused or targeted on the content that a PAC chair might have gotten at the national advocacy meeting, in addition to what was talked about on Thursday. And then the PIC chair, same thing, that very role-specific training, so that they leave that meeting knowing exactly what their responsibility is. So the program chair breakout is going to get moved to Saturday, and we'll end up not doing a separate breakout for chapter staff because of that lack of meeting room availability. So Saturday is president-elect breakout, membership chair breakout, and again, the program chair breakout will be Saturday. So we know that PIC and PAC are happening on Friday. We know president-elect, membership chair, and programs are going to happen on Saturday. And we know everybody's going to be needed on Thursday. So if that helps you plan your budget and your travel for your volunteers, that's why we're sharing the information. So we're going to actually have, topics for each of these sessions published well in advance, so that you'll know exactly what you're going to expect to get at that session, just like you would if you were going to any conference. You would want to know what breakouts are going to be, what the topics are going to be. This is what I call the skeleton of that schedule right now. Cool. And I'm not seeing any chat questions, I don't think. Nope. All right, good. So I'm going to run on, give you a quick update on your membership implementation, some of the things that we've done recently since we came back from P+P. So we've added PAC fields to all the current member reports. We only added them to the current member reports because you're only supposed to be soliciting PAC from current members. You're not supposed to be soliciting them from people who are not members or are former members. So we've added those fields to the current member report. If you are a state that has local chapters, you used to go to your available reports and you'd see your state report, and then you'd see a separate report for each of your locals for current members, expired members, and lapsed members. What we've done is we've taken those local reports away, or in the process of taking them away, and we've added the local chapter field to the state report. So you can download it once and know which chapter each member is in. If you're doing a kind of review of lapsed members, for instance, you'll see all of that in one place. We launched the Leader Center. So we're moving, most of the content has been moved from the old leadership landing page over to the Leader Center. We still have the old promotional kits are still on the old HubSpot pages. Those will get moved over eventually, but we've migrated most of the content over. We're still kind of reorganizing as we get feedback. If you have feedback, please share that with your set rep when you sync up with them, or if you're a local chapter, share that feedback with your state exec so that it can get passed on to us so that we can make sure that we're sort of incorporating those ideas into the way that information is organized. So we've launched the Leaders Center group, it's called. So for those of you that aren't familiar with an online discussion group or aren't a member of ASAE and haven't ever participated in their Collaborate site, you may not be familiar with this, but it's just a place where members can go and share best practices if they're in a group. So the whole idea with this is we will create, and I've started creating the discussion threads over the last couple of days. There'll be discussion threads on different topics: advocacy, membership, marketing and communications, governance and operations, Lily, whatever it is, where if you or one of your volunteer leaders has a great idea you want to share, you go share it under that forum. If you have a question for other leaders, say, what is anybody doing about, I don't know, incorporating NAIFA Live into your chapter meetings? How's it working for you? How are you getting people to sign up for watch party locations? Whatever that is. And we'll have discussion moderators. Our hope is to get volunteer leaders to serve in that role. So for instance, Cheryl Cantanella has agreed to moderate the YAT discussion forum for YAT leaders that might have questions about their YAT programs. And so she would then, answer those questions, or she'd reach out to another member that she knows has done something awesome in that area and answer that question for them. So that's kind of what the Leader Center is going to be, is our place to share best practices, to get resources, tools, and information. That's where the calendar of upcoming events is going to be for leaders and stuff like that. So I've already added some calendar items to that, but we're going to be migrating all of those calendar items from this kind of static list event page to a living, breathing calendar. So I threw up, this is, I don't know if you can see it really well, this is Louisiana, and Shannon has already gone in and posted events up on her group. So this is her state chapter group, just like the leaders have a group and the leaders have a calendar of things relevant or specific to leaders. Your chapter, each chapter has a group. You can post your events up there. When you post an event on your calendar, if you and your members, which I would encourage you to start promoting to your members to download the mobile app, it will show up on their feed. I don't know if you can see this, but if they're in your group and you post something under this group feed here, it will show up on their phone in their kind of alerts, if you will, and they'll get a little red. I don't know how many of you have these apps where you got the little red circle and it tells you something's happened there. It'll show up on their phone and say, oh, something happened on my social link. Let me go check that out. So this is your place to get that information out to your members. So don't rely only on email. Some of your members are going to start to use this as their go-to place to get information about your chapter events and stuff. So here's an example. Shannon and I are connected. So this showed up in my feed. She has posted information on her an event that they've got going on in Lafayette, Louisiana. This showed up in my feed because I'm connected to her. But if you're not connected to Shannon, you may not have seen this in your feed. If you take these kinds of events and post it in your group on your chapter post, your chapter feed, it will show up to every member in your chapter and also your lapsed members if they take, which we're not expecting lapsed members will necessarily download the app, but if they did, they would have access to it also. So think of this as a way to promote to your members. And just to remind you, you can download the mobile app. I encourage you to do that. We are going to start communicating like, this is where the information is going to be available first, is on the mobile app. So we posted, for instance, last Friday, we posted the sample PDF of the chapter action plan. And the minute I posted that, I went and posted on the Leader Center feed that was available there. The local chapter went up on Monday. I posted it there. We're going to put it in the newsletter this week on Wednesday. But if you want to know the day it happens, you want to have it on your mobile phone and your app so that you get the notification that that's happening, because this is where we're going to post everything first, right? Eventually, we'll turn on the digest component of your membership system, and people will get digest that will aggregate all of this information that's being posted on the online community, on the Leader Center, on your chapter group pages. It'll consolidate that into a single email that your members can decide if they want to get it daily. I think it's offered daily or weekly are the two options, or it might be weekly or monthly. I'll double check that. We haven't turned that part on yet, but when that happens, that'll be a way for all of our members to get everything all in one place, right? Versus having all these emails coming from state chapter, local chapter, NAFA, the leaders, the leaders leadership email, that kind of stuff. Okay, so what's coming next on your membership? We're working right now on a report. We should have it available in the next couple of days for new members in the last 12 months. So you guys have asked for this. Is there a way to get a list of, so we don't have to download the whole list and sort through it? So we're going to be operating, most of our reporting is going to be on a rolling 12 months. All of our engagement programs are on a rolling 12 months so that we're reaching, connecting with members during their first 12 months of membership. So this report's going to be for any new members in the last 12 months. You'll still have to sort it, but it won't be as big of a list if you're only interested in pulling out the last few new members. But if you're doing welcome activities or orientation or onboarding programs for new members, this would be your target list. While they're on this list, they should be part of your onboarding programs and activities. We're going to be appending data from a third-party data source called AccuPoint. So we're going to expand the demographic information available on our membership database, getting things like their national producer number, their CRD, which is the central registry number for that FINRA assigns to anybody who's registered to sell securities. We'll be appending, the broker dealer that they have, all the insurance carriers that they're appointed to, all the states they're licensed in, that kind of stuff. So instead of waiting for our members to self-report this data, we're going to use this third-party source to provide this data for us, and then we'll update it, quarterly or twice a year with that information. So things like birthdays, we'll have birthdays for more of our members. We'll have license year for more of our members. So we'll have more data and demographic information for our members. And when we have that, we will then share that data with you. So some of those fields are already available on your chapter reports, but they're just blank right now. We've done that because we know we're going to add the data to these fields, and we wanted you to have access to that data and information. We're migrating members only content from NAFA.org to the New Year membership system. And then next step for us in terms of launching the community to the full membership is starting to get forum moderators for these discussion forums for the general membership, and people to serve as ambassadors that are willing to go and welcome new members to the community whenever they join the community and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we're at on the Year membership system. Does anybody have any questions? All right, rolling along. So reminders and announcements. Every Friday from now through the 8th of November, so a week before the action plans reports are due, I'm going to be available from 2:30 to 3:30 on a live Eastern time on a Zoom meeting for you so that you can dial in and ask me questions. I had a couple of people on the very first week we did it, and it was like, can I ask another question? 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 It's just a great, I showed them all of the online community, how to use that for their chapters, how to post their information. But this is really a time where you can, you or your volunteer leaders can dial in and just ask me a question. They don't have to stay the whole time. They can ask their question, get their answer, and hang up. I'm not recording these, but it is a great opportunity. So if you're interested in that, the information is on the Leader Center group calendar. So if you go to the Leader Center, and go to the group calendar, the information on how to dial into it is there. And if nobody dials in, which happened last week, I sit and multitask the whole time. I have plenty to do. So I'm not just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I've got projects I work on, and then if somebody bings in and asks a question, I answer it, and when they get off, I move on. So just a quick reminder about the national advocacy meeting, and you'll see it. Should be a list in the leadership newsletter that's coming out today of the chapters that have people registered for it. And just real quick, I have a list of them here. I didn't get it up on the slide deck because they didn't get it to me in time. So let me just read this off real quick. Oops, sorry. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to read off the ones states we have registrants from: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Nebraska, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wisconsin. So if your state was not read, that means none of your volunteers have signed up for this training. We need to get them signed up. So again, there'll be a reminder going out in the newsletter about it, but sharing back my screen, I'm sure all of those that were read out, you're super excited your name was read, because I know I would be. Let's see. Oh, just give me 1 second. I'll restart my presentation. Sorry, this takes a second to get it back to. Sorry. Tom, your face is big on my screen. You were the last person to talk besides me. All right, good. A couple of questions came up. So somebody asked if the third Thursday is the day we're shooting for NAIFA Live. No, we're not. It's most often going to be the second Thursday next year. Again, May is the only month that is not the second Thursday. It's actually the first Thursday. So we've moved it to the second Thursday of every month, except for May. Oh, and Mary Garza has said she has all the NPN numbers and birth dates for all of her members. God bless you, Mary. Yes, please send it. Certainly, if you have data on our members that we're trying to track down, we'd love to have it. So just real quick reporting deadline for, everybody should know this by now because we first announced it in July, but the reporting deadline for your chapter budgets for calendar year 2020, your action plan report for 2020, and your 2020 leadership roster. Even if your elections have not been held, I need you to submit who's on your slate, okay? And if you have multiple people, put both of their names. You know, if you have opposed elections and you're actually running opposed elections in this day and age, go ahead and put both names down, and then later you can tell us who won. But we need time to get all of that information into our system so those leaders have access to your group and ability to download reports and are getting information on the Leaders Center is available to them. So we need that information as quickly as possible. So don't worry if you haven't held your election yet. Send us who you've got, who's on your slate, and then if somebody ends up losing, we'll just take them off, right? That's good. It's all good. We also have posted this, again, on the Leaders Center under the Forms and Reports page. We have PDF versions of the entire action plan report, the leadership roster, and the budget report. So you can download and see what it looks like. It is different for the states and the locals. It follows the playbook. So if it says in the playbook you have to do something, there's probably a question about it. There are two other things that you need to download. There is a membership agency or membership presentation plan spreadsheet that we want you to fill in your targeted agencies around your state or in your local area, if you're a local chapter, and when you're planning to try to schedule a presentation with them so that we can see where we can expect activity in that area. And then similar to last year, we changed the fields a little bit, but there is a chapter program template. And again, if you're a state chapter, you should be reporting it for state planned events or affiliate planned events. Don't put in there the things your local chapters, like if you have a chapter in Columbus, they're submitting their own report. Don't include those things. But if you're holding your state day on the hill in Columbus, yes, report that. So the programs that are being planned by your state. Remind people about this, blackout dates for 2020. I've heard several people say they've got conflicts. I've seen it on some reports that people are going to reach out to me about it. I have yet to get anybody to say, to reach out to me to get an exception this first year that we're implementing this. So if you think you've reached out to me, please reach out again. And we'll have a conversation about your program and kind of what restrictions you've got on the time and all of that because of a contract perhaps that was signed, right? And we'll talk about that. And if necessary, we'll issue a waiver for you. And that's what I've got. Does anybody have any questions for me before I turn it over to Tom? Because I want him to share his idea. Hold on a second, chat. Yes, Janice, I don't know if you heard me say this, but the chapter action plan report is available in PDF format as a sample on the Leader Center. So if you go to the forms and reports page on the menu of the Leader Center, if you want me to show you real quick, I will. Hold on one second. We've only got a couple more minutes. Tom, while I'm pulling this up, why don't you unmute yourself and talk about what you did in terms of your leadership training?
Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Michelle asked me to relay to you one of the things that we have done here in terms of our local leadership orientation. In prior years, we've had the old, everybody come to one location in the state of Florida. If you're going to be a local leader the next year, officer, board member, particularly committee chair, we provide you 1 day of orientation, feed them a little coffee and a little lunch, and then we have them out of there by 4 o'clock or so they can drive back. And that whole meeting was running us about $8,000 a year once we took care of all the expenses for it. So what we decided to do to train our leaders for 2020 is we decided to use the Zoom platform, teleconference platform for our local leader orientation. We actually call it our association planning meeting, the APM. And we set aside 1 week, the last week of September of this year. And for 2 hours, twice a day, our state committee chairs were able to meet with and provide orientation to the local committee chairs and their respective committees. We had 7, health insurance, legislative, PAC, PIC, YAT membership, and we had one for local presidents as well from the chapters to provide them that orientation. Like I said, we did 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, did that for 4 days in a row. It was a long 4 days. But well worth it in many ways to be able to provide that orientation so people didn't have to get in their cars and travel across the state to get to Tampa or Orlando or wherever we might have it. Last year it was at Saddlebrook Resort in Tampa. And if you're coming from Miami or from the Panhandle, it's quite a hike for you. As I mentioned, we did use the Zoom platform. We provided the 2-hour blocks for each of the state committee chairs to provide the orientation to their respective committees and committee chairs. And what I would tell you is that none of them used the full 2 hours. It seemed that most of them were done in about an hour, give or take. The longest one was for local presidents, and that one ran about an hour and a half. And but everyone on the Zoom calls, the teleconference, seemed to appreciate it. We recorded them. We recorded each of the Zoom teleconferences and packaged it up on our NAFA Florida TV YouTube channel. And just this past week, I sent the links out. It took us a while to edit them. I had my assistant handle that. But the links were sent out to all of the local leaders statewide. We actually, believe it or not, did invite everyone in the association across the state. They got an invitation if they just want to find out more about the committees, so on and so forth. They were invited as well. And but anyway, we sent out the links to all the local leaders in the local chapters and the 2 local affiliates that we have. So they can view those later. Maybe they weren't able to be on, so we provide the links to do that. It went well. Just a couple of issues. What I would tell you is that I probably could have done a better job in orienting my state chairs to remind them that it's an orientation. They seem to wander off the reservation. A couple of them wandered a lot, and it was turned into more of an informational message about what's going on right now with their committees and what some of the issues are and so on and so forth. And I wish they had stayed more in orientation framework to provide that training for those incoming local chairs and their committees. Our participation was pretty good on a couple of them. Several of them we did not have the participation that we had really hoped for. But remember, we did record them, so obviously there's many folks that may not be able to have been on at the time we did it live, so we provide the links for them to do that. One in particular, we literally only had 3 or 4 of us on the teleconference, but we recorded it just as if there was 100 people on. We didn't get too informal with it just because we only had a couple of folks on it. We reminded everyone on that we were recording it for later playback, and then we conducted the teleconferences as such. But I thought it went pretty well. You know, obviously it's not the same dynamic when you have 5, 10, 15, 20 people in a room working on a committee and receiving orientation. The Zoom platform is great, but the dynamic is different. And but in terms of cost savings and in terms of actually communicating the information, it worked out really well. And my recommendation moving forward is that we do the same thing again next year using the platform. So, yeah.
Cool. Any questions for Tom? So I watched all of them, and I know the one you're talking about where they went a little deep in the weeds, but even that I found to be super, I don't know, informative, and it seemed to engage people, right? Like they were like interested to know what was going on with that issue that was being addressed and talked about. And I'm wondering if it won't make for a more engaged and involved committee at the end. So I don't know. I thought it was phenomenal. I watched all of them. I watched them in double time. I started out watching them regular time. I'm never going to get through all these, and I wanted to watch them all. But
so you had them in Mickey Mouse version then, huh?
Yeah, and Tom had his volunteers prepare their presentation, prepare their orientation and talk. Very highly engaged and informed cadre of volunteers. So super impressed with that component of it too, that you know, entrusted that with them, and they were knowledgeable and informed about it so they could do that training. I was very impressed with the whole thing. The content.
I actually had to do one myself.
I saw that.
Yeah, our PIC chair who was recovering from back surgery. So I couldn't think of a better excuse that he couldn't do it. So I just kind of had to step in and handle the PAC teleconference, but I thought it went all right.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job. I saw little cuts and pastes from the playbook. I thought, go, Tom, got that down. All right, cool. Do you guys need me to show you where to find the PDFs real quick? If you do, just put a thumbs up real quick. Otherwise, I won't. We'll end it. For the action plan, you guys want me to show you real quick? All right. I'll show you real quick. All right, so I'm logged into Social Link, right? So, or your membership system, community.nafa.org. I've logged in. This is the page you're taken to. Okay. You click this little link up here. This takes you to the web page under Leader Center, Forms and Reports. Okay. Chapter reports due this date. And right here, you'll see the name of the item. And then if afterwards, it'll tell you if it's a link, an Excel spreadsheet, or a PDF, right? So here's these 4 are the samples: sample state report, sample local report, sample budget report, sample contact report, right? And then these are the actual links to the reports themselves. And then these are the 2 templates I mentioned that you need to download, complete those, and attach them to your report, okay? So this is available, but everything that's on here, if you go through your playbook, there's nothing on here that you shouldn't be expecting to see in terms of your plan of action for next year, because it's all talked about in the playbook again. We took stuff out that's not that we were asking last year to really give us information. So the whole governance page section is way less now, right? So down here, governance, hardly anything there, because we don't need all of it. We got a lot of that information last year. So, And then one thing I did this year that's going to make it much easier for everybody is I put all the files you have to upload at the end. One of the things we ran into last year, for those of you that tried to do this in multiple steps, which is fine, you can save this and go back later. And it says it right here. It says instructions. Do not upload files on the last page until you have confirmed all other required fields have been completed and you're ready to submit your report. If you upload something, it tells you that something's missing and you go and add it, you have to re-upload all of the reports. And we ran into that with several people last year and we figured it out. If we stick it all at the end and you've hit submit, you've hit submit, it'll tell you you need to attach these items and stuff. But when you hit submit, it'll tell you what else you might be missing throughout the document in red at the top of each page. So pretty much every field on this is required. If you don't have a day on the Hill, for instance, some of these fields will get hidden and won't make you fill it out. Legislature's not in session next year, so you're not hosting a day on the Hill, stuff like that. But it's pretty much the same format, but different questions because we took out things that we didn't need that weren't related to the implementation plan, and we added stuff that we did. So that's the example of the action plan report. So, and again, if you do it in stages, which you're welcome to do, you have to save every time you go to the next page. Hit save and resume. Don't close your browser unless you've saved. If you don't save and you go back, everything will be gone. And I can't control how the internet works. It's a browser-based reporting system. And so if you close your browser and don't hit the save button, it's not going to warn you like Microsoft Word does. It's a browser. It doesn't do that. So I can't change that. I can just tell you that you have to save every time. Going to the next page doesn't save it for you. If you don't hit save and resume later, it won't save it. And make sure that you copy that link down. It will give you a link and say, here's your link where you can come back and do this again. We do not have access to that link. That link is specific to you and you're filling it out. We can't go somewhere and look it up. Believe me, we've tried. So make sure you save that, or you could bookmark it. But again, it's not, you'll be given a custom link specifically for you, and it pops up and tells you, here's your link. Does anybody have any questions about that? Are we good? Any questions at all? And again, I'm available on Fridays for the Ask Me Anything session if you need to go and all that. But otherwise, stop share. If there's nothing, you guys can just start hanging up. No, yep, there you go. Good job. I'm trying to stop my share so we can all see each other, but obviously I can't find my button to do it. All right, good. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Thanks everybody for your time this month. And I guess we'll see you on the leadership webinar at the beginning of the month of November. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.